All right, we can get started. Just ticked over to 12:15. So welcome to the virtual user group for January. The Make team is pretty excited for the workflow diagramming demonstration today. And Patty's been pretty excited to show everyone. So she'll probably try and hide her excitement in the background, but our whole Make team is really excited to show everyone the workflow diagram. So first off, we'll go through some questions that have come through since our last virtual user group meeting. There was only one question that came through. We'll go through some of the bug fixes. There's just an announcement we want to make about the TransIT education, and then we'll jump into TransIT and we will show you our workflow diagramming redesign. So the question we had since our last user group meeting in November, we did have a client that couldn't import their plan. ID column was missing when they imported their plan. So we did some digging and we found out that TransIT actually uses the ID column name field. So if you do encounter this problem, what we recommend and suggest you do is that you just rename the ID column. Otherwise, that data in that column will not import into TransIT. And then you have to go and rename the column inside of your Excel file as well, and then you can import the file into TransIT. Some of the bug fixes we had since our last meeting in November, we just in general, we had several breadcrumb updates just to help navigate previous pages. So we just made it a little bit clearer on a lot of those breadcrumbs across TransIT. When you're restoring content from a deleted project, if the name already exists, a date and timestamp will be added to the name automatically just to identify the differences between the two. We removed all the HTML code from all the exports to Excel. So if you do see one that you come across, just let us know. But all of those HTML code should be removed now. We fixed the user code value showing or displaying instead of a username. We updated the email template when your user record is sent via email. And then clicking the TransIT education page now opens up in a new browser tab instead of losing your spot inside of TransIT. And then with plans, we fixed the email SMS notification to actually include the plan name. So it's just easier to identify which plan that notification is associated with. We fixed comments not importing from Excel. So now your comments in the comments column of your Excel spreadsheet will now import. We fixed the plan's dashboard at the bottom. The total numbers were displaying as HTML code. We added a pop-up message when deleting attachments. So we had some clients where they accidentally deleted attachments. So we just made it a little bit clearer that you are deleting attachments from an activity. We fixed a repositioning issue when you're inserting a row. So if you had a fairly large plan and you're at row, say 300, it would reposition you to row number 1. So that's now been fixed. And we fixed a bug where an attachment that was associated to both rows. So if you copied a row with an attachment, when you deleted it from one of those activity rows, it would delete both attachments. So that's now fixed. We fixed the repositioning issue when you updated a roster. So if you're at the bottom of your roster, it repositioned you to the top. And another code value issue fix in terms of the statuses, we're displaying code values instead of the actual name. So we'll go through some of these bug fixes. So I know we mentioned this a few user group meetings ago, but it is now in production for you. So you can see that when you restore content from your deleted project, it will add in a reinstated a date and time if the name and vendor are the same. The TransIT education link, so when you click on that link in the top right-hand corner, it now opens up in a new tab, allowing you to maintain your spot inside of TransIT. The email and SMS notification, you can see here that originally it just had Transit Plan 209. It now has the plan name followed after the actual plan number to make it easy for you to identify which plan you're referencing. The comment section can now be imported from Excel. So on your plans page, if you have any comments that you add in from your Excel file, it was not importing, it now imports into your TransIT plan. The plans dashboard export, down the bottom, you can see where the red box is. There was HTML code. It now shows the correct values and numbers for your reference. And then when deleting attachments, this is the new warning message that you receive when you are actually deleting an attachment. When you hit delete in the first pop-up, this actually comes up and says, do you actually want to delete this? This will be undone. This cannot be undone. So it's just a double safeguard. Some of our clients were accidentally deleting attachments, so we've just made it a little bit more rigid so that you cannot just delete an attachment without actually double clicking and deleting an attachment. The TransIT Education Quick Start Guide. So this is a guide that we typically send out to new testers during a round of testing, just to give them a little bit of information and instruction on how to log into TransIT, how to execute steps, the differences between issues and test notes. This is now a video on our education page on our website. So you can go and click on the testing tab, and then you'll see the TransIT Quick Start Guide. It has a little bit more information than the actual PDF manual did, but it allows people to skip through to different sections. So if they want to skip through to their personal preferences, they can. It's fairly easy to do. If they want to go through and just get a quick refresher on how to execute a step, they can do that very easy from inside TransIT, which is really cool. So now on to the really exciting news. We have redesigned our workflow area inside of TransIT. So that is just a picture of how it looks in TransIT, or how it will look in TransIT in the future. I know Patty's really excited. We've only had maybe 36 hours to kind of play around with it, but our development team have been working really hard in the background for the last few months on getting this up and running, and our whole Make team is extremely excited to share the progress and to share the news of how this will actually work and how it will help and benefit everyone creating content inside of TransIT. So just to give you a quick rundown, the PNG upload process will be removed. So as you'll see when we jump into TransIT in a minute, you'll actually design all of your workflows inside of TransIT. So you'll have the ability to create a workflow diagram inside of TransIT. You'll link your TransIT positions that are inside of your organization to your swim lanes. You'll be able to link your module content to each diagram element. You'll be able to insert gateways to create different pathways through your workflow. And you'll be able to create multiple gateways as well. Today, we're only going to do one gateway. Your work auto saves whenever a change is made, so you don't need to worry about if your work's being saved or not. You can automatically create functional script outlines, and it allows for selection of specific pathways to be inserted in a scenario script. So your current workflows that are inside of TransIT will be converted to this diagram form. Some rearranging may be required, but we'll reach out to all of you when the time is right. And then we do have some future enhancements planned just to make it even better than what it is now. So I'll just jump into TransIT and we can go through creating a workflow. Patty, did you want to add anything before I jump in and show everyone?
No, you are correct about how excited I am, and I can't believe that I don't think you took one single breath in that whole 10 minutes. But
well,
no,
to be honest,
very excited.
I know you want to get to it. So I wanted to just get
Yeah.
through. And
So clients have been asking for this forever. And now we're just about to turn the switch. So what Travis is showing is in our demo environment, but the plans are for it to be in production by the first week of February. We may beat that date.
All right. So as I mentioned, the biggest change is that you'll no longer need to upload a PNG file. Instead, you'll create and design your workflows inside of TransIT, and you'll have the ability to easily link your content to your workflows. So let's get started and we'll create a workflow. So we'll click the Add Workflow button. Today's example, we're going to do an ED arrival via ambulance. So we'll add that name in, we'll add our description, we'll select our vendor, and then this status area here will be a new org setting for everybody. And that will be set up by each individual site. And you can have whatever status you'd like. Today, we're going to do an in progress status because we're starting a new workflow. So we'll click save. And this is the default workflow screen whenever you create a new workflow. So it just gives you a few visual cues on what's there. So you've got your double click to edit this text. So we're going to go ahead and make or create a workflow from scratch. So the name of the workflow is displayed on the left-hand sidebar across here. There are 2 lanes representing 2 positions, and they can be changed, and you can add more swim lanes. And as I mentioned earlier, the changes are automatically saved, so you don't need to worry about if your work is saved or not. So let's start to create our workflow diagram. We're going to update the positions. So the positions are listed just beside the name. And how you update the positions is just by clicking the box, and there's a little gear icon over here that says assign position. And the change position pop-up box comes, and all of your positions that you have loaded up into TransIT will be able to be selected in here. So the first position we're going to add is paramedic. And then we're going to go down to the second box, and we're going to change our second position to EDRN. And then we actually have a third position that we want to add. So we're going to add another swim lane by using this icon here on the right that says add lane below, and it will automatically add a lane down here. And then we want to then add our position onto that lane as well. So that'll be the reg clerk. So as you can see, the 3 positions have come up on the left-hand side. So we won't need this decision gateway, so we're actually going to delete it, and we'll re-add it in a little bit. And then the way we add text into a task box is by double clicking it, and then we can type over the text in there. So our first task will be call EDRN about inbound patient. And then when we want to create a new task box, we just select the task box itself, and then we have all these icons that come up, and then we want to select this one here that will then create a new task for us. And we are going to call that complete pre-arrival documentation. And that will be the position of the EDRN. So all we need to do is click on that task box, move it down to the EDRN position, and you'll see that the arrow now follows through. So we can continue to create our workflow and add more task boxes. So we can click on the complete pre-arrival task box, click another one, and the next task that we've got here is deliver patient to EDRN. And that's going to be performed by the paramedic. So we want to drag this up here, and you'll see that the arrows all automatically update for you. We're going to add another task box as well. And the next task that we have on our list in this workflow is notify reg clerk of patient arrival. And that is going to be performed by the EDRN. So we just need to move this down to the EDRN swim lane. And then the last one that we're going to add is the complete quality search. So we're going to add that in here, and we're going to drag it down to the reg clerk because that's the position that's going to be completing this task. So as you can see, we've completed 5 task boxes very quickly. And now we're going to add a decision gateway. So we select the task box, and then you'll see this little diamond here. It says gateway. We'll click on the gateway here, and it'll put in our gateway for us. And then we want to name our gateway so we know what the decision or the question will be. So we double click on that gateway and we add in our our question. So our question today for this workflow is patient search. And then we want to add in our 2 decisions that we want to add in. So we add in a task here, and this one will be yes. So we'll add in, we double click the arrow, we click yes. And then we want to click on the gateway again and add another task in, and you'll see the swim lane increases in size automatically. And we'll double click this arrow and we'll say no. So once the complete quality search is done, the gateway then decides whether or not the patient search was successful or not. And then we're going to label, if it is a yes, we could find the patient, we're going to make it a complete ED quick reg. And then, of course, if we don't find a patient, we obviously then want to add the patient in. So you can see here that there's no link between these two. So very easy to do. You click the first task box. There's a little arrow just here. You click the arrow and you link it up to your second task box. So now we can finish our workflow by adding in one last task box and an end event. So we'll add in a task box here and we'll name this task attach pre-arrival document chart. And this is going to be performed by the EDRN. So we'll move it up here. And then we're going to add an end event. So every workflow needs to have a start and an end event. So we have our start event here and our end event here. We also have the ability to add a text annotation box to any of these tasks. So we can click on any of these task box and you'll see over here that there's a little add text annotation. We can click that one here. We can add in our text. And the text here that we have is registration and triage icons are added to the patient row on a tracking list. So this is just a note for more so for internal users. This information in these boxes here will not come through on your scripts, and you can always move them around and make them wherever you want to put them. So now that we've finished our diagram, we can use this preview workflow step icon up on the top right-hand side, and it's going to give us a preview of our workflow that we just created and the 2 different pathways that we created. So we've got the yes and the no. So it gives us a really cool overview of where our workflow is in text form. But now things get really exciting. So we're going to go back to our workflow and we are going to actually link the module content that we have inside of TransIT to our task boxes. So the way we do that is you can click any task box and down the bottom right-hand corner here, you'll see assign module. So if we have any modules for any of these tasks, we can go through and assign those modules to those tasks. So I know I have a complete pre-arrival document workflow, module. So I'm going to click here and I'm going to select my pre-arrival ED and I'm going to hit save. These here are just some options that you can tick on and off for global content to be vendor specific. And we'll do more training once it goes into production for everyone on how everything goes. So I'll add my module there by clicking save, and you'll see here in the top right-hand corner, there's a little tiny tick. That indicates that there's a module associated with this task box. So we're going to go ahead and see if we have any more modules that we want to link to our task boxes. So I know that I have a module for the complete quality search. So let's see if we can find that one. And we'll hit save. And then the add patient, I know I have an add patient one. We can actually type in the number if we'd like. And that's that one. So you can see here the ticks are now coming along, and we'll do this one here. We want the visit, comma, enter. And we want that one. And then we want the attached pre-arrival document. And we'll do this one here. All right, so now that our workflow is complete, we can actually click on our preview the workflow steps, and you'll see that in the module column, all of our modules are linked up into this module column here. We can actually click on these modules and go in and see the details of each individual module, but these are the modules that we just linked to our workflow diagram. Does anyone have any questions before we jump into showing how to import into a script? Fantastic. So the really exciting thing after the workflow and creating the diagram is being able to bring it into a script. So we're going to first create a functional test script, and we'll hit save. So when we hit the add workflow icon and we put in our facility and we select our workflow that we just created, in this section box here, the drop-down menu will give you all the pathways that are linked to that workflow. So we created those two pathways, yes and no. You can select either of these pathways and only those steps will come into this functional test script, or you can leave it blank and it will bring in all the pathways listed. So we're going to leave it blank and I'm going to hit save.
I will just say that the intent is that in a functional test script, so this allows you to test every arm in your functional test scripts the way you probably never do now. So you put in all your decision boxes and you bring the whole thing in as one functional script. So I think it really facilitates correct system testing ahead of integration testing.
And then you'll see in the section area here, our first, area of the workflow is the patient search yes. If we scroll down, you'll see that once that pathway ends, it then transitions across to the patient search no, and it lists all the steps inside of your modules that are linked to each of those task boxes. If we didn't actually link a module, it just brings in a line. So you can see here, call EDRN about inbound patient. We can then add whatever steps we want into this test script. So that's a functional test script. Let's go and create a scenario-based test script. Let's grab the right one for us. And then we are going to add in our workflow. So we're going to select our day and our facility. And then we're going to select our workflow that we just created. And then on a scenario-based test script, you do need to select one of the pathways. So we're going to select no, because it just has more steps. And then you click save. And then this will only bring in the information and the steps along with the modules for that pathway. And then we can click generate script steps. And then you have your scenario-based script with all your information loaded, all your modules loaded, all the steps loaded. Very easy to create content from your workflows now. Patty, I guess I'll hand it over to you to see if you want to add anything that I may have missed.
No, I would say I hope that everybody's excited and sees how powerful this is. A couple of people have pinged me in the background already to say that it's fantastic and they love it. But just, is there anyone who has any questions about anything they saw? And does everybody understand how this is light years ahead of what we added last year?
Hey, it's Christina. How are you?
Excellent. How about you, Christina?
Good. This looks great. I just want to clarify so that I guess I just want to repeat back some things to make sure I understand. So you first have to already have modules already built out for things
right.
like quick.
Well, you do and you don't. So the interesting thing is And I don't know if your site is like this, but a lot of sites, the analysts almost get annoyed at the amount of detail that are in the modules. So you can actually use that high level. So if you've got the same analyst running the same scripts that they've been running forever, then you could insert it at the high level. It's not going to have actions and outcomes. At this point, it'll just have actions, but we are working on an enhancement to be able to add an outcome behind it so that instead of when you attach the module, you just attach an outcome, and then you've got a perfect script that your analysts can use. So you don't have to have the module content.
You can do this diagram here that Travis showed, set it up, and you don't have to attach existing modules if you don't want to, and it'll still give high-level steps.
Exactly. So right now, it's I don't know if it's going to make it for the first week of February or not, but where Travis added the module in that dialog box, you would also be able to add an outcome. So if you didn't have your content ready, or like I said, some of the sites, there's some analysts who believe that the level of detail is too much. So if all they wanted to do was click that gear icon and type in what the outcome was, so complete pre-arrival document, and the outcome they wanted it to be, you know, document is saved, patient row shows on tracking list, then they can type that right in. And then that would save with the workflow. And every time you insert the workflow, it would do that. Going forward, if you decide you want to build out the modules for it, it would then be a choice, either per workflow, for that workflow or for that element in the workflow, it would either be an outcome or a module.
Okay. Okay. I understand. That's great. Then the other thing was when you said something about the 2 branches. So for the functional test script, just so I make sure I understand, you can leave the yes, no question blank. And
no. So in that section box, if you leave the section empty, it means you want to test the entire workflow. So you can choose in a functional test script to just test the yes, but
right. But if you don't, it's going to spell out all of it, like first do the yes and then go do the no, or vice versa.
Exactly. And then if you had another decision box past that, it would end up with 4 branches. So every pathway through the test script will be generated if you choose to do that. You can choose to not. You can choose to just do one, but to me, that's much more like scenario-based testing. Either the patient is existing or they aren't, right?
Right. Okay. Amazing. Love it. Thanks. I just wanted to make sure I really was clear on those.
Yeah, I almost messaged you to say you should invite Ginger too, but then I held back.
Well, I'm one-on-one with Ginger in a couple hours, so this is going to be one of the big topics that I'm going to bring up to her.
Cool. Yeah, so the other thing is, so everybody on here is an existing client. We are adding this into your existing subscription, so there is no cost to this. So this alleviates the need to buy Visio licenses for everyone in your IT department. So we really think that this is revolutionary.
Yeah, we have limited licenses, so definitely that's a great thing.
Yeah, and hopefully, like I said, it'll be at the latest the first week of February that this is out here, and then we will have, people watching that support queue as always, so that if you start playing with it and you have questions, by all means, send them to support and we will get back as quickly as we can. But I think you can see, like, it's pretty simple. Like it's very drag and drop. It's very easy. The more you play with it, the easier it gets. But and that was a great picture. Does anybody else have any other questions?
I put it in the chat, but can you import a Microsoft Visio in, or do you have to build it manually?
You have, at this point, you have to build it. We don't have the ability to import in from Lucidchart or from Visio. If you've already built workflows in TransIT where you imported the PNG, it's going to try to convert them for you, but that'll be a different phase in the future. So I know if you've got like a gazillion Visios, it may seem like a lot of work to convert them here. But if you don't have great functional scripts for all of the systems that you're supporting, this is a great way to get your functional scripts done and then be able to include whatever level of detail you want in them.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, great. It's 12:45. So everyone have a great rest of your Friday.
Thanks, everybody.